I can understand English, but I can't speak it fluently. Hello, students. Welcome back to Whispered Hub. I want to know if you can relate to this. I can understand English, but I can't speak it fluently. I receive so many emails and questions from students, and the vast majority of them, in one way or another, make this same point. Do you feel that you've spent hours, days, years studying English, but suddenly when you have to speak, you go blank? The words don't come. You forget all of your grammar, you stumble over your pronunciation, and your vocabulary goes down the drain. To go down the drain is an idiom meaning to disappear. Well, this lesson is for you. I'm going to help you break free from your current struggles with spoken English, and I'm going to help equip you with practical skills to strengthen your confidence in speaking English fluently. Now, before I discuss why this happens, because we have to know why before we can work to solve the problem, this lesson won't just improve your English skills. We can also work on your listening skills, your pronunciation skills, and your vocabulary. At the end of the video, you can test your understanding. This means you can ask any question in the comments. Okay, let's go back to the question. Why do so many students feel they are able to understand English but are unable to speak fluently when the moment arises? Well, this is mostly related to the fact that understanding a language requires the use of receptive skills, listening, and reading. Most English learners focus on language input, like watching films, YouTube videos, TV shows, all in English. They listen to English-speaking podcasts and read books in English to immerse themselves in the language as much as possible. This is fantastic. Lots of us do it. Don't stop doing it. It's a great way to build vocabulary and to gain a better overall understanding of how the language functions. But, and there's always a but, this doesn't do so much to increase your fluency when speaking, because in contrast, speaking requires the use of productive skills. You need to take a more active role in your studying, and by that, I mean practice. You need to focus more on output, using the language rather than just taking it in. We need to have a good balance between the two. But unfortunately, language output can be much harder to find than language input. It's not so free and easy to go to an English-speaking country, find a personal English tutor, or find an English-speaking best friend. This is why I meet so many grammar geniuses, students whose knowledge of grammar is higher than most native speakers. However, they just can't speak. They know all of the theory, but when it comes to the practical, they struggle. Today, I have 6 practical tips for you. The first one is completely free, and that is talk to yourself. This is something I actively did when I was learning Spanish. One of the simplest things you can do to increase your output is to talk to yourself, and you can start right now. It could feel a little bit strange, but it's truly magical how well talking to yourself works to improve your fluency and fluidity. Plus, you do it all day long anyway, so why not do it in English? Most of us, not all of us, have a little voice in our head when we think. Some people don't have this, but most of us do. This little voice probably speaks in your native language. See if you can come up with an English alter ego for your inner voice. If you can't find that inner voice, you're going to have to speak out loud. I am watching TV. I am washing the dishes. I am picking up the plate. I am scrubbing it with a sponge. I hope my husband brings home pizza for dinner. Now, I really recommend speaking out loud because you need to practice creating new sounds and feeling how words are formed in the mouth. But narrating in your head is a great way to start, and it's a good thing to do if lots of people are around you. This slight adjustment can help you significantly increase how much you use English during the day, and it's especially useful if you don't have anyone to practice speaking with, and you can't afford to hire someone to practice speaking with. Now, I want to make a further addition to this point, and this is a way you can supercharge your vocabulary. No joke. I used it myself. This was one of my first videos on YouTube, actually, on how to drastically increase your vocabulary because it works. As you are narrating in your head or out loud everything you do in your day, watch out for when there is a specific word or phrase that you just don't know in English. Keep a vocab diary. I think back in the day, in my first video like 7 years ago, 8 years ago, I told people to write it down in an actual notebook. Nowadays, there are apps for that. You can use your Notes app. You could program your smartwatch to take in your voice. For example, what if I'm walking down the street and I realize that I don't know the word for traffic light in Italian, the language I'm learning? I would do something like this because I love using my smartphone. First, I would ask Siri to write it in my notes. Hey Siri, write traffic light in my notes. Easy as that. Then, I'll ask it to set a reminder at 6 p.m. for me to go through my new vocabulary. Hey Siri, set a reminder at 6 p.m. tonight to translate and review my new vocabulary. Okay, I've added it. Beautiful. So, tonight at 6 p.m., when I've got home, I'll get a reminder to go through the new vocabulary I've added today. I haven't had to type a single thing. It's been such low effort, but I know that every day I'll be expanding my vocabulary with the words around me that I'm actively noticing that I do not know in English or whichever language you're learning. After that, you need to practice using these in sentences out loud. Okay? That's my free, super accessible way of increasing your English output. Now let's move on to tip number 2. Talk to a tutor. This one is incredibly important. Why is talking to a tutor better than talking to yourself or talking to another English speaker? 3 things, in my opinion. You can say to a tutor how you would like the conversation to go, and you can reenact situations in which you felt you failed in the past. Maybe someone at a networking event asks you what you did for a living, and you stumbled over your words, got flustered, and just gave a really oversimplified version of what you do, a version that did you no justice. When you hire a one-on-one tutor, you can run through those exact situations so you never have to struggle like that again. The next 2 points are really important too. Corrections. You want someone who fully understands the English language, who can accurately correct you when you make mistakes. That might be your grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, or more importantly, whether you are speaking clearly and naturally. I don't recommend aiming for absolute perfection. Instead, you want everyone to understand what you're saying. And number 3, you're in a safe space with a tutor to request feedback, to make mistakes. You're not going to be ridiculed. You're not going to feel embarrassed. A personal tutor is someone who experiences mistakes with English learners all the time. It's literally their job, and because of all of that experience, they can give you targeted advice to make quick improvements. Now let's think back to our school days. We all had a teacher that we didn't like. We didn't like them. They didn't like us. We didn't get on. I had multiple teachers like that. Some of them absolutely should not have been teaching children when they so obviously hated children. So, for many students, the fear of finding the wrong tutor gets in the way of actually finding the right one. Because, unlike school, this is something that you are personally paying for. You're making an investment. So to spend an hour with a teacher that you end up not liking, that's an expensive mistake. Now, here's where I think I've got a really good solution for you in more ways than one. 2 ways, actually. Have you ever heard me mention LanguaTalk before? This is a company that I liked so much, I decided to become a part of it. So technically, I'm sponsoring myself here. I truly think that LanguaTalk is the best online language tutor platform, and this is how it relates to this lesson. When you first start browsing through the English tutors on the platform, firstly, you can rest assured that they are of incredible quality. LanguaTalk has an incredibly strict screening process. Well below 10% of applicants get accepted onto the platform. Then you can filter by their availability, the country they're based in for time zone, the price per hour to make sure it fits with your budget, and also your motivation. Whether you're learning for your career because you're moving to a country or because you want to pass a specific exam. Then you'll see all of your suitable tutors appear, and every single one of them has a video, so you can go through your own filtration process and make sure that it's someone you will connect with. Then, you will see this button here, and this is really important. Nearly all of the tutors on LanguaTalk offer a free trial session. So, you can make sure you're right for each other. That completely eliminates the risk of paying for a session with someone that isn't right for you. Then, if you want to be extra sure, I'm giving you a $10 lesson credit for free. Okay, tip number 3 involves writing. One of the best ways to get yourself prepared for speaking in any situation is to write down what it is you would like to say before speaking. Take time to write out all of the sentences you plan to say, and then practice saying them aloud. Now, I don't expect you to carry a notebook around with you and write down everything you want to say before speaking. That's just impractical. But this is an exercise that can be added to your daily English practice. The best way to approach this is to think about situations and potential conversation topics, especially those that interest you, because learning English should be fun. Also, think about questions or opportunities you frequently encounter. In English, we use the term elevator pitch. This refers to trying to sell something to someone you've met in an elevator. In American English, it's called an elevator, while in British English, it's a lift. You've only got a limited amount of time, so you must get the message across quickly and efficiently. Try to think of elevator pitch versions of your most frequently received questions. For instance, if someone asks you, "Where are you from?" you might say something like, "Well, you can probably tell that I'm not from here. I was actually born in Italy, but then I moved to France at the age of 4. I went to college in the U.S., which is why I speak with a slight American accent." Write it down and practice it because you know you're going to get asked a lot. Another question could be, "What do you do for a living?" or "How did you learn English?" You can start with simple conversation questions and gradually increase the difficulty level. This will help build your confidence and improve your fluency over time. For example, "I'm not very good at giving strong opinions." Sometimes, if I'm going to an event where I know I'll be asked about a hot topic that's quite divisive, I prepare in advance. It helps me feel more relaxed or less anxious. I'm not someone who can just give an eloquent opinion piece straight off the bat, meaning immediately and without preparation. Hence, we need written preparation. It's also a great idea to prepare these written answers and then present them in a tutor session to ask for their feedback. Many of my students come to me with things they frequently have to defend, such as why they are fasting during Ramadan, why they wear a hijab, why they are vegan and choose not to consume animal products, or why they chose to leave their country when they love it so much. There are many difficult questions you might want to prepare answers for to be able to give a response you're proud of and comfortable with. The biggest one I get most frequently is, of course, self-introduction. I have an entire video about this, which I will leave below in the description. In that video, I explain all of the necessary steps for preparing notes to introduce yourself confidently and fluently. Number 4. This is something I've said time and time again, and I wholeheartedly believe it is the correct way forward. Focus on fluency, not perfection or accuracy. Fluency over accuracy every single time. You need to be understood, not applauded as a grammar genius. This means you need to start feeling comfortable making mistakes. If you avoid speaking with people out of fear of making mistakes, you'll have nothing to learn from. You're starving yourself of opportunities. No one wants to make mistakes. It's embarrassing and can cause us to lose confidence. Learning and speaking another language is a very personal and sensitive topic, but getting out of your comfort zone and making mistakes while speaking is genuinely one of the best things you can do to improve your fluency. If you can, try to have a sense of humor about it. See it as an opportunity to laugh with yourself, not at yourself. Some of my best anecdotes in Spanish come from the mistakes I made while learning the language. I love those stories. They are so special to me and great to share at any dinner party when speaking in Spanish, as they make everyone laugh. I chose not to be embarrassed in the moments when I made mistakes. I chose to take a step back and laugh at the hilarity of the situation. Now, I understand it's not that way for everyone. I learned Spanish because I wanted to learn it. I liked Spanish and enjoyed learning it. However, many people learn English because they feel they have to, as they cannot progress in their lives until they have acquired the skill of speaking English. So I understand it's a bit harder to laugh at yourself when you don't even want to be learning the language in the first place. At the very least, see it as an excellent learning opportunity. The good news is that most English speakers and other English learners are usually pretty willing to help when you need it. You just have to ask. If I talk to a non-native speaker and they make lots of mistakes, I will not correct them unless they ask me to. If you do want those corrections, you can say, "By the way, if I make a mistake, you can let me know." And to go back to point 1, I really suggest keeping a notebook or your smartphone ready to take notes whenever you receive a correction or just after receiving it, so you can review the information later. Number 5 is not for everyone, but it works really well for some students, and I've seen it in action. It's awesome. It's called shadowing. Shadowing means copying other English speakers. It's imitation. When you are purposefully learning new words or just casually watching a video, repeat what you hear. You don't need to think about sentence structure, verb tenses, or grammar in general. Just repeat the words and sounds. By repeating the words and phrases, you're activating your mind so that you can obtain new information, understand the speaker more easily, and improve muscle memory for forming words and practicing natural word stress and pronunciation. I've noticed a few of my students involving me in shadowing. They listen to the video and then try to repeat exactly what I say in the exact way I said it. Again, it's not for everyone, but it's really effective. If you do want to try it, let me know if you'd like a lesson on shadowing where I can guide you through it. I'd be more than happy to put that together for you. If there's no interest, I won't bother. Number 6. This one is fantastic. It's something I make all of my students do at the start of our pronunciation courses. Record yourself speaking. Have you ever heard a recording of yourself speaking in your own language and felt really surprised at how you actually sound? I used to make radio shows when I was a child, recording onto tapes, so vintage, and then onto CDs. I was amazed at how different my voice sounded. I always thought I sounded much posher than I felt. This disassociation with your own voice and how you sound is really important when learning another language. I felt so embarrassed and cringed a lot at how formal and British I sounded, but now I feel really confident. I know exactly what I'm going to sound like. It's no surprise to me. I also sometimes review my videos and think, I was speaking a bit quickly there, or I was speaking too quietly, or I mispronounced this word without realizing it. I think it's important for you to record yourself so that, at the very least, you start to become comfortable with how you sound. Then you can also start noticing things that you can improve on. Additionally, it's a fantastic benchmark because where you are now is hopefully going to be the worst you'll ever be. Your English will only get better as you study more and more. Hopefully, in a year's time, you can play the recording you'll surely take after this lesson and think, "Oh, my word, bless me. I was trying so hard, but I've improved so much since then." In my pronunciation program, we invite the students to read a text featuring the majority of the sounds in English and the features we teach in the program. They record it and can post it in the group or keep it privately. Then they record again at the end of the 12-week program to notice the difference. This is so important because sometimes you improve without realizing it. So, this is my little challenge to you, and it includes point 3, which involves writing down your frequently asked questions. Choose a frequently asked question, probably your self-introduction or what you do for a living. Record yourself reading it. Save it somewhere where you know you'll be able to access it again, and then set yourself a reminder for 1 year from today. In 1 year's time, I'd like you to record that same text again and see how much you've improved. Will you promise me one thing? You will come back to this video in 1 year's time and let me know whether you noticed a difference. Okay, that is it for today's video. That was a long one. You can use it for your listening practice, which is very important for testing if you've truly retained what you've learned. I will see you soon for another lesson.